What's up?
Brenda?
Yo.
Hi. I got too drunk, so they kicked me out from being downstairs because I'm too drunk. And so I'm here with Rachel. But I was just going to tell you that you're a good brother, and I do love you. And I miss you when you're not home, and I wish you, and I'm really mad that you're more famous than me. But it's okay. And you kind of, I think you're trying.
You're going on YouTube. Hello boys, welcome back to the channel. I have a confession to make. I messed up. If this engine would have went in the car and ran for probably 10 minutes, it'd be toast. Let's get to tearing it apart. So first thing we need to do is get the engine stand remounted in a different location. Essentially what I want to do is we have to pull the crank out of this engine, and I'll show you guys exactly what happened when we get there. But the good thing with these is we can drop the cradle out the bottom, and then we can essentially just pull the crank out and leave everything on the top of the engine assembled. So what we have to do is get this engine stand remounted in this upper part of the block, because you can see right here, this is where the cradle splits from the block itself. So if we have the engine stand mounted to the cradle and to the block, we're not going to be able to split it. So if we can get this leg mounted somewhere towards the top of the block and these bottom legs mounted where these top legs are currently, we'll be able to have the entire top of the engine secured and be able to drop the bottom part out, which is what I'm looking to do here. All right, we got the engine mount relocated to the top of the block. After we're done, we're gonna put it back to how it was, just because I feel it's a little more secure, but this will work for now. What I wanna do is get our valve cover off, because I just kind of have it mocked up there. It's not secured. Same thing with our manifold and turbo. We'll get that pulled off, and then we can move on to the actual block itself. Alrighty, well that girdle was kind of a pain in the butt to get off. Not exactly sure why, probably just the RTV seals it nice and tight. What I ended up having to do is just hit the top section of this little piece right here for the oil filter. Just take a 2x4 piece of wood and I just hit it with a mallet until it broke free from the engine. And we're good to go now. So now we need to pull all 5 of our main caps off and then all 4 of our rod caps off. And then we should be able to access the part that we need to assess. And I'll show you guys in a second. Let's get these things ripped off and hopefully we can fix our problem. Well, here is our issue. So these thrust bearings here, you can see this side is completely flat. And if I pull it off, now if you look on this side, you have 2 grooves in it. I was watching one of Devin's videos the other day, and I saw he put these in with the groove side facing out. And I had to go back and rewatch my video to realize that I put them in backwards. I was watching his and I had this weird feeling that I put them in backwards, and sure enough, here we are. So with these in backwards, I'm assuming that it would rub against the crank so much that it'd start sending metal through the engine and probably blow this thing up really, really quick. So I'm glad we were able to catch that. We can now get these things flipped around and placed the right way, like that. But what I'm gonna do now, since we have everything off, I'm gonna take the bearings out. Obviously, make sure you remember what spot they went in. And we're just gonna clean them off, reassembly lube the top, and that way, you know, there's no oil or assembly lube underneath them where we don't want it. Same thing with the rod bearings. And then we are gonna do one little upgrade under here since I have it all taken apart and I have them at the house. So yeah, let's get everything cleaned up and we can start putting this back together. Another thing, coming over to the crank, this is really irritating. This is a brand new crank from Mitsubishi, and these things are not cheap. And if you guys remember, it had a little bit of corrosion and rust right out of the packaging, and I kind of cleaned it up, put it in the block, and now the rust has spread, so it's here, here, here. It's kind of all over this little thing. So I'm gonna clean it up again, and then I think what I can do is just when we put it in the engine, I'll put some oil or like ATF, some thicker oil around the crank just to preserve it until we get it in the car. But yeah, that's really annoying, especially for a brand new crank straight out of the box.
Anywhere you go, give it on. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
So like I said, we are going to be doing a little bit of an upgrade here while it's all torn apart. I was just running these stock main bolts, but I do have some ARPs at the house now, so we're going to slap these in. They do have their own instructions, and they say to do 3 equal steps to 70 foot-pounds on the M10s and 32 foot-pounds on the M8s. So we're going to torque these pretty much the same way we torque those. There is a torque sequence. I have it on my video where we built the entire engine. So I'll have that linked up here if you want to check it out. But we're just going to follow that sequence, get these torqued down, and then we can move on from there. All the main caps are now torqued down, and we're moving on to rod caps. So these we're just gonna go 30, 60, 90, and then our rod caps will be torqued. I did go ahead, clean up everything underneath the rod cap, and then re-lubed it, so we should be like fresh again. Rod caps are now 100% torqued. These two went nice and easy. These two were a little bit sus on the 90, but we got them. They were creaking a lot, especially these two outside bolts. But yeah, finally went. So we're all torqued on the rotating assembly. I've gone ahead and cleaned up all the gasket surfaces on our girdle. So the top, the bottom where the pan mounts, and also the front, or that's the rear. But this side is your front where your timing chain cover is gonna go. Everything's cleaned up. We got as much RTV off as we can. And I'm gonna lay another layer of ultra gray, just a real thin layer on this surface. And then coming over to the block, so a little layer on this surface as well, and then we can set the cradle on there, or girdle, whatever you want to call it, and then those bolts get torqued to 19 foot-pounds. I snug the bolts up for a ratchet and let this sit for about an hour per Permatex's instructions on the gasket maker. So now we can go ahead and torque these down all the way, and we should be good with the girdle.
The city of the sun, you could have stayed. It's only over when the day is done. I never knew you was a runner, yeah. I mistook you for a son. It don't matter what we think when it's all over. 'Cause this is our last chance to leave it all behind. Raise your voice and raise your power, yeah. This is our last chance to leave it all behind. Raise your voice and raise your power, yeah.
Just went ahead and tightened down our timing chain cover. So the last thing we gotta do is just get the oil pan sealed back on there. We'll do that tomorrow. And then we're pretty much back to where we were with the thrust bearings in correctly. We'll let this sit for a little while, let the RTV cure a little bit. The bolts are kind of just a little more than hand tight. So once that cures a little bit, we'll come in, tighten it all down, and we're officially back to where we started. The last thing on the agenda today is to get our baffle holes tapped. If you guys remember, we drilled out all of the rivets that held these in. That way we can clean and powder coat, do what we need to do to the valve cover. Obviously, we're not gonna use rivets again, so we're just tapping these out. I've been running this 4.2 millimeter drill bit down through there, and then following through with an M5 tap. And that way we can run these little M5 Allen heads. Now, I do wanna go pick up some red Loctite and some washers for these guys. That way we can ensure, hopefully they don't come out. Obviously, these back out, that'd be very, very bad. So we're gonna do everything we can to make sure they don't do that. So I did this side already. We just gotta drill out and tap this side, and then we'll be done. We do have to clean the whole valve cover because there's metal everywhere now, and we obviously don't want that down in our fresh, brand new engine over here. And there we have it. All the baffle holes are drilled and tapped, and we have these things secured down with some M5s. Now, like I said, we're gonna get some Loctite and some washers for each bolt, but because we're gonna still get this valve cover powder coated, we're just leaving it like this for now. I'm gonna pull these off and drop it off to a buddy that can powder coat these for me because I don't have an oven in here, nor do I have a whole lot of room for one, even though I'd love to powder coat this myself. But oh well, we'll get there one day. Now, I don't want to put this valve cover on the engine right now for a few reasons. One, because we're powder coating it, and two, most importantly, there's metal shavings in there from what we just drilled and tapped, and we don't want that going in the engine. So I'm just gonna cover the engine with a garbage bag or something tonight, piece of plastic, make sure nothing gets in there. I'm not too worried about it. Garage is pretty clean, but that's pretty much all I have for this video. Once again, thank you, Devin, for saving us a ton of money on that engine. That would have sucked to start that thing up, and it's gone within 10 minutes. So glad we caught it now, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, peace out. See y'all later.